day in the land. I'm not going to go so far as to say it's a beautiful day in the land.
When you say you love spring weather, you have to take in all of spring weather.
Well,
Jay Crawford, Betsy Kling. As usual, we start off with fun and hilarity. Anyway, this is part and parcel with spring weather. We get the good, we get the bad, and as time goes on, we'll get more and more good and less bad.
Yeah.
But there is this too.
What I love is the good spring weather.
Yeah.
I don't love what we had today. It was crazy driving through downtown Cleveland today. I was very much reminded, though, spring is still a few days away. We're in the midst of it, Betsy.
We definitely are, and the winds are a-whipping out there. Not only is the wind whipping, my friends, but we also have snow starting to mix in with the rain that has been coming down. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what's happening as far as the forecast right now. Matt Wintz will join us coming up in just a little bit. Where you see the yellows and the reds, there's likely some wet snowflakes mixing in aloft. You're probably still getting rain at the surface, but the radar is definitely starting to pick up on that idea of a rain-snow mix as we go through the latter part of the evening. It's the little kiss on the backside of all the rain. And we have had quite a bit of rain, over an inch of rain in areas farther south. But the temperature scheme right now is looking like we are in the 30s. That's where that cold northeasterly wind is coming in off of the lake. So that's helping to chill things out. Meanwhile, we're close to 50 in Dover, but all of us being impacted by the wind chills. Wind advisory continues till 4 a.m. for the lakeshore counties and west of 71. As I mentioned, Matt Wintz will be along with a full look at the forecast coming up in just a little bit. Jay.
All right. Tomorrow, Betsy, is a big day for thousands of Ohioans. That's because anyone 40 years of age and older, and this includes anyone battling cancer, chronic kidney disease, obstructive pulmonary disease, heart disease, and obesity, they can now register to get their COVID-19 shot. That really is just about everybody. In fact, just 10 days after that, on March 29th, all Ohioans 16 and up will be eligible to register for the vaccine. By the way, you can get all that information and more sent to your phone right now by scanning that QR code on the bottom of your screen. Meanwhile, today, Governor Mike DeWine defended his decision to open up eligibility so soon to all Ohioans, despite some claiming they've had a hard time finding appointments. As always, our Laura Queso watched the presser today. Laura, this is a question that many Ohioans have been asking. What did the governor have to say about why he's doing that?
Jay, the governor is saying that we are getting a lot more vaccine. That's the bottom line. And also we are ramping up mass vaccination sites soon. Together, this will help the flow of getting people vaccinated, he says, as quickly as possible. Of course, that's the goal here. He also said he wants Ohioans to get vaccinated before the variants spread. Okay, right now, so many people we know are struggling to get appointments, those who are eligible. So how is this going to work moving forward? Well, the governor says he's decided to open up because he does not want vaccines sitting on the shelf. He says many of our rural communities in Ohio are not taking the vaccine as quickly, so it's really a balancing act here. He says some locations have extra vaccine, and they are actually shipping those doses to other places. But the goal really is not to have any vaccine sitting around anywhere. Not only that, on the 29th, we are expecting an extra 100,000 doses weekly in the state. That means by the end of March, he's expecting 500,000 doses a week.
Plan is now to take the Johnson & Johnson and to put them into our mass vaccination sites, at least into some of our sites. So on the 29th, that week, we hope to start opening up about 15 sites. One of them would be right here. So we're going to have more sites. We're going to have, but the most important thing is we're going to have more vaccine.
The governor also announced the state will test walk-up COVID-19 vaccination programs in Cleveland. Details to come. Okay, now pack your patience. We've been talking about that. The governor says when everyone 16 and older is eligible, booking may take time, but he said give it about 2 weeks and things should start opening up and clearing out so that you can register.
Particularly with a lot more doses being made available in the very near future. Now, Laura, let's talk for a moment about Ohio's color-coded advisory map. I know there was some news on that today. What's happening there?
Well, Jay, the good news is more counties have dropped from red to orange. That means the spread, of course, is slowing down. Take a look at the map. Okay, while many Northeast Ohio counties you see are still in red, meaning very high exposure and spread, we have a few counties, including Ashtabula, Tuscarawas, and Wayne County, that have actually dropped to orange levels. That's good. Right now we have 60 red counties, which is the lowest number since early November. The governor's saying he's hopeful about this, but of course we still have a long way to go and we need to get more shots into more people's arms, Jay.
Absolutely. And by the way, some interesting COVID-19 numbers today. We'll be giving those at the top of the next half hour. In the meantime, Laura Queso live from the newsroom. Laura, thanks to you, and we'll see you at 6 o'clock.
Sure.
Now on your feet at 5. Over the last year, Americans turned their living spaces into their working spaces. Yep, the at-home office. And it is a big change that sparked big tax questions that are now at the heart of several lawsuits. They potentially have huge consequences for both employees and the cities that they work in that rely on their tax dollars. Our Mark Naymik explains what this means for you.
Many people have an office in downtown Cleveland or in other big cities, but for the last year they've been working from home in a suburb. Yet those big cities around Ohio are still collecting income tax as if they're driving to work every day. The Buckeye Institute, a conservative-leaning advocacy group, has filed 4 lawsuits on behalf of employees no longer working from their offices in Columbus, Cincinnati, and Toledo. The suits could force cities, including Cleveland, to refund millions of dollars. The cases are focused on emergency coronavirus legislation approved last spring by lawmakers that allowed cities to keep collecting income tax from workers sheltering at home. Cleveland attorney Jay Carson of the Buckeye Institute says cities can't tax a worker who doesn't live or work there. And as some companies decide to keep working remotely, he says the issue needs to be settled.
I understand and sympathize with the Ohio legislature because they were making this decision about a year ago. Along with many other decisions, drinking from the fire hose, as it were, trying to deal with this emergent crisis. And looking back a year or so ago, again, there were a lot of folks who thought, this might all blow over in a couple months or 6 weeks. But what's happened is it's been much longer than that. And we've seen the other factor that's come into play is that a lot of businesses and employees have said, this works for us. And we're going to continue working remotely.
People living in a township could save as much as 2.5% of their income if the lawsuit is successful, though people in the suburbs will save a little less. That's still a lot of lost revenue to big cities like Cleveland and Columbus. I reached out to both of them today, and they declined to comment about the case. I'm Mark Naymik, 3 News.
Mark, thank you very much. That affects a lot of people, and I know you'll continue to stay on that story. Well, there seems to be growing evidence that vaccinated pregnant women are passing COVID antibodies on to their unborn children. This could bring a lot of peace of mind to mothers who still aren't sure about getting the vaccine. But as you might expect, there's a little more to it. Let's sort it out. Senior health correspondent Monica Robbins joins us now on What's New. Monica, what do we know for sure?
Well, Jay, this has been a very confusing subject for a lot of women because there's limited data about how the vaccine affects pregnancy. So while vaccine manufacturers are now studying the effects on pregnant women, the CDC says it's a personal choice, and the WHO only recommends it for women who work in high-risk situations, such as healthcare workers. But now there's a study out of Israel and a case in Florida that are giving a shimmer of hope. Researchers at Hadassah Medical Center in Jerusalem found COVID antibodies in 40 newborns whose mothers were vaccinated with the Pfizer shot in their 3rd trimester. And 2 Florida pediatricians published another case of a mom who passed antibodies onto her child after vaccination with the Moderna vaccine.
We're fortunate that this was essentially an opportunity study, because of the time where this healthcare worker was able to receive her first vaccine. It was early on in the vaccine rollout.
This test result came back that the antibodies from the mom's vaccine did in fact pass through the placenta to the newborn.
So while this does indicate a lot of promise, it is very important to note that we do not know if those antibodies will protect the babies against a COVID infection, nor do we know how long those antibodies will last in a newborn. So a lot more research needs to be done, and those questions can really only be answered with time. However, Israel, Jay, is also doing a study to see if COVID antibodies can be passed on to the infant through the mother's milk. And so far, that looks pretty promising, too.
All right, that's very interesting as well. Monica, I know a lot of folks are watching that with interest. Thank you very much. Betsy?
Well, everybody, if you know me, and a lot of you do, you know that I love science, and I love the Great Lakes Science Center. So I am thrilled to say that it is up for a major award. It's one of the 15 finalists for the Institute of Museum and Library Services Medal. Our January Keaton talked with museum leaders about the hard work that they've put in to get here.
The Institute of Museum and Library Services Medal is like a Grammy or an Oscar for museums and libraries that make a significant impact in their communities.
It's so rare of an honor for a museum. It's not for any one program. It's not for any one individual. It's given because of the work we've done over time in Cleveland.
Science Center President and CEO Kirsten Ellenbogen had a twinkle in her eyes our entire Zoom interview today because of how major this thing is. I mean, the ceremony is held at the White House every year, for crying out loud. That's kind of a big deal. So are the folks who submitted nominations.
We have letters from our elected officials, from Senator Brown, Senator Portman, Representative Fudge, hearing from teachers in our nomination package, hearing from leaders like heads of districts that we work with.
And in those letters, the Science Center was praised for everything from its commitment to Cleveland schools to the inventive ways it safely continued operations during the pandemic. Ellenbogen says none of it could have been done without the folks who work for the center and you.
If it weren't for the brilliance, the ingenuity, the dedication, getting through the pandemic and the way the Science Center has, our staff, and I mean that broadly, our full-time staff, our part-time staff, our unpaid staff, our volunteers, and our amazing board, our supporters in the community. There's a lot of people that made this nomination possible.
Now, the award ceremony is in May, as I mentioned, and it's going to be a really cool event. I just saw Kirsten here at the Great Lakes Science Center. She is so excited. They're going to announce the 3 winners out of the 15 nominees at that event, and they'll receive a medal, those 3 winners, and of course, they'll get some bragging rights. Now, get this. The committee that's going to be voting on them, there's a group of librarians and library professionals, museum professionals. They were put together by President Joe Biden, so that's pretty cool. This is, by the way, the highest honor a museum can receive in the nation. In Cleveland, January Keaton, live, 3 News.
January, is certainly some great news. I think they've been giving out this medal for more than a dozen years now. There have been a small handful of museums here in Ohio selected. I think the Stark County Library was one of them a number of years ago. So we have some incredible institutions here, and the Great Lakes Science Center is definitely a gem in our crown. I'm so glad you got to explore it. Go have some STEM fun, January. Thank you so much for your report. Jay?
Yeah.
Coming up next on What's New, March Madness is back. Up next, we're going to hear from the Cleveland State Vikings head coach as Cleveland State is dancing in the tournament once again.
Plus, what's new with Kanye West? We're going to catch up with him a little bit. Check out his net worth, too. That's been seeing some changes. That's coming up in Pop Break.
Okay. Yeah, I can do that.
Welcome back to What's New. It's one of my favorite times of the sports year, March Madness, and the madness is about to begin. And boy, does it feel great to have the tournament back, because remember, last year COVID-19 was ramping up right as the NCAA tournament was set to begin, and then they scrubbed the whole thing. Traditionally, the first round starts today on the Thursday of the first week, but with the entire tournament taking place in and nearby Indianapolis this year, the schedule's been changed, obviously, for logistical reasons. So the first 4 play-in games, if you will be played today. And then tomorrow, the tourney kicks into high gear. 16 first-round games, including one featuring our very own Cleveland State Vikings. For just the 3rd time in program history, CSU is in the dance. Many remember their magical run back in 1986. They made it again 23 years ago. Or 23 years later, rather, in 2009, and now they are back in 2021. And it's been a remarkable turnaround for a program that was down in the dumps for years. The 15-seed Vikings take on number 2 seed Houston, and even though they're a 20-point underdog, they've had to overcome a lot during the pandemic just to get here.
We felt how it was without a March Madness last year. We felt that. And not just one person, not just our institution, the entire world felt March Madness's absence. But also other industries were impacted. And my heart's out to everyone out there who has been impacted by COVID-19. And it's not just seen in games, it's seen in every relationship, every possible scenario. And we've adapted. It's been a year now. And, you know, this is our new normal. This is our new normal.
It is the new normal, but boy, it is so exciting, Bets, because I'll give you the fact that the Vikings are a huge long shot. But remember, back in 1986, Kevin Mackey's squad came in as a 14 seed. And what do? They stunned powerhouse Indiana in the first round. Then they beat St. Joseph's in round 2. They become the first ever 14 seed to make it to the Sweet 16, where they lost by 1 point to David Robinson and Navy. But what a run that was.
I just think it's such a cool story. We all love an underdog story. Everybody does. And, you know, Cleveland State, you don't typically get to look at those Horizon League teams on the big bracket and go, yeah, let's pick them. Let's do it. And I've been telling friends all over the place, I don't know who else is on there besides Ohio State and Cleveland State.
That's all we care about, right?
That's right.
It's a nice local presence. By the way, our Dave Chudowski sat down with head coach Dennis Gates. You can see his full interview tomorrow morning on Go. What a fun time for them.
Definitely fun. And man, today would be a great day to sit inside and watch basketball all day.
I know.
You know, it's always fun to hear the way people plan their days around the basketball games in March Madness. But March Madness takes on a very different meaning to meteorologists, because it is maddening sometimes with the huge swings that we have to get through.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. By the way, Matt, your weather word today is underdog in favor of Cleveland State. How that works into weather, that's up to you. But good luck.
Well, we'll figure that out. You know, guys, my wife has been more successful than me in picking teams the last couple years, albeit not last year. She goes based on color. She's such a color palette kind of girl, so she just likes whatever, you know, the combination is, and it seems to work for her over analyzing over sheets and sheets. So just a little tidbit for all those that are in work brackets. That may work better for you if you have no idea. But you're right, we've got a colorful radar out there this evening as we continue to track this soaker of a Thursday outside. You can see the solid rain that we've had pretty much all day today, as Betsy mentioned, top of the show, mixing with some wet snowflakes as you get out towards the west. We're not going to get a lot of snow from this. You may see some wet gloppy flakes mixing in before it comes to an end. But you see that line out over the lake. There's actually a cold front with dry air pushing in. This dry air over the next couple hours is going to sink south very quickly. And before you know it, all this rain is going to be gone, just like that on radar. But right now, you can see we've got some heavier rain over towards Portage counties, but this is more than likely because the radar, that beam goes up in the sky, and where we have wet snowflakes up above us before they melt, it's likely picking up some big wet snowflakes. So it interprets that as some heavier rain out here. Bottom line, it's just a soaker, likely some snowflakes out towards the west. All courtesy area of low pressure, same one that brought the severe weather areas of Alabama, the deep south yesterday. Tornado warnings ongoing near Charlotte now with this. This is the warm sector of the system. This is the cold sector where we happen to be, and you can see the reason why we have the wind. It's not just the low. There's a strong high pressure building in. That's going to bring us our beautiful weekend, but that squeeze play is on, and you get those isobars tightly packed. You get very strong winds with that. We've got wind and cold air coming across that lake, and that's going to set the stage for a pretty chilly Friday around here, and as a result, wind advisories for mainly our western counties and up along the lakeshore. The water's piling up in the islands, some minor flooding in those typical low-lying areas out there. Wind gusts in yellow there have been over 40 at times. They will remain gusty overnight tonight. And you can see as we go through time, we will start to ease that wind tomorrow morning with gusts in the 30s. But it's still going to be a breezy day tomorrow, not nearly what we had today, especially towards the lakeshore. National Design Mart hour-by-hour forecast. You would think, looking at the radar, that the underdog would be the dry air. Not the case. Look at this. We're going to clear things out as we get towards the overnight. 11 o'clock, we could have nothing on radar. Some clouds left over. Eventually, we'll clear those out. A cold start to your Northeast Ohio Friday, but we're back to wall-to-wall sunshine tomorrow. Not just tomorrow, but Saturday and Sunday too. I don't think we'll have a cloud in the sky for the next 3 days. It will be chilly tomorrow though. High temperatures struggling to get out of the 30s, so it will be a cold day tomorrow. But then we're going to start to warm things up. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast. First day of spring feeling like it. We'll make it up near 50, cooler near the lake. And look at this, sunshine through Tuesday, 60s in the forecast. Next chance of rain on Wednesday and Thursday. A very spring-like looking forecast. We'll be back on the backside of the break with some pop break.
Well, normally high-profile divorces can cost a penny or two, but despite going through a divorce himself, Kanye West is still worth a whole lot of money. And actress Katherine Heigl is recovering from neck surgery. Our Sarah Shookman has all the details in your Thursday Pop Break.
Well, Kanye West has certainly done that, despite being in the middle of a divorce from wife Kim Kardashian. New reports say the hip-hop mogul is now worth $6.6 billion. And while he couldn't keep his love locked down, his sneaker and apparel line, Yeezy, inked a deal with Adidas AG and Gap, which is now valued at more than $3.2 billion. According to reports, Mr. West also has $122 million in cash and stock and $110 million from his music catalog. Actress Katherine Heigl is recovering after undergoing neck surgery for a herniated disc. The Firefly Lane star posted pictures on Instagram yesterday of herself recovering in a neck brace and of her x-rays. But she made light of the situation, saying, "Well, now I am bionic. 2 titanium discs now inhabit my neck, and I can probably stand on my head for like hours. I'm not going to try it just yet, but give me a few months and I'll blow your mind." While the 42-year-old mom of 3 didn't disclose how she injured herself, she did go on to thank her medical team from saving her from the most excruciating pain she's ever experienced. We're wishing her a speedy recovery. And from boy band sensation to loving papa, Zayn Malik and his girlfriend Gigi Hadid are embracing parenthood. The couple welcomed their daughter Kai in September of last year, and they've been loving every minute with their new bundle of joy. In a recent interview, Zayn said the two have been able to ease into having their little one.
Honestly, she's an amazing baby. She kind of made it easy for us. She sleeps really well. She loves her milk. Changing diapers at the minute. It's wicked. I'm enjoying it for sure.
And that's a wrap on today's entertainment news. Sarah Shookman, 3 News.
Sarah, thank you. Next on What's New, a push for proof of COVID vaccination is a real possibility in order to travel freely in Europe. They're calling it a vaccine passport. We'll tell you what that may mean for your next trip abroad.
Also, as we slowly get back to normal, a local doctor weighs in on what may be next following this pandemic. From shots to overall living, here are her predictions after this past year.
Plus, it is Throwdown Thursday. Monica Robbins will play the game show host. We're going to find out how much Betsy and I know about allergies.
Oy.
Oh, that's a fun topic.
Yeah.
Half hour number 2 of What's New is coming right up.
And now, live from WKYC Studios, this is What's New.
Welcome back to What's New. Boy, was it windy and nasty here in downtown today. Betsy, I stopped counting inverted umbrellas at 4. And it's always funny when it happens to someone else. It's never funny when it happens to you.
Right.
But it was a common sight today. It looks like winter is going out like a lion.
Well, we have a little bit of time left to go, right? Because we get past all of this wind and this rain, and I think you're really gonna like next week. It's not very lion-like, but I gotta tell you, spring definitely has tricks, and April can get kind of nasty to us too.
Yeah, we forget that sometimes. I always think that like it's kind of a celebration when the first day of spring arrives, but I remember having high school baseball games snowed out in April. So, I mean, you know, I don't think we're out of the woods until we get at least halfway through the month of April.
Yeah, I've had folks hammering on me because I'm being realistic.
Hey,
Can't you just say it's nice? It is nice, it's beautiful, but realistically speaking,
it can get bad.
It can also get bad. Yeah. That's where my job comes in.
Yeah, you got to deliver the news, man. Yep. You can't make it up.
I like to tell everybody I'm in marketing, not production. Oh, think about it. Okay, let's take a look at 3 things you need to know here at the bottom of the hour. After suspending the AstraZeneca COVID-19 vaccine in over a dozen European Union nations this week, the European Medicines Agency executive director says that the vaccine is safe and effective, following reports that it could be linked to blood clots. The EMA says the benefits of the vaccine outweigh the risks, and no batches were found to have issues. However, the agency was not able to completely rule out a link, with over 30 blood clot reports amongst the millions who've been vaccinated.
Betsy, our daily COVID numbers are not great today. In fact, our 2,104 new cases, that's the most we've had in a single day in the last 3 weeks. However, our daily positivity rate took a big dip from 6.2% all the way down to 2.6%. Our 14-day average now standing at 1,522 new cases, but the governor announcing today our cases per 100,000 dropped from 155 last week down to 144 today, so 11 more down. Remember, that number needs to be 50 cases per 100,000 to lose all of our restrictions. Also, Ohio has now vaccinated 2.56 million residents, which is just short of 22% of our total population.
And also today, Governor Mike DeWine announced why he's opening vaccine eligibility to every Ohioan 16 and older by the end of the month. He said many of the rural communities aren't taking the vaccine as quickly, and that he doesn't want them sitting on shelves. He added that when some locations have extras, they're shipping them to other locations. DeWine also said that starting on the 29th, we should be getting an extra 100,000 doses weekly.
All right, now time to move to our top talker here at 5:30. And yesterday, Bets, we briefly touched on this idea of a COVID passport. Basically, it's an idea gaining a lot of traction, particularly in Europe. The rules on showing proof of vaccination keep changing, and now airlines are trying to help make it all easier on travelers.
NBC's Sarah Harmon has an exclusive look at what might be in store for you next time you fly out of the U.S.
This week, as air travel hits new records since the pandemic began, passengers are struggling to make sense of the ever-changing requirements.
I sat in my office and spent a half a day printing out forms.
Yeah, it seems to be changing about every month or two, so whatever it takes, I guess we'll weave through the process.
But now the first travelers are taking off, testing a new travel pass app created by the International Air Transport Association that could make the process much smoother.
If we stay in this manual mode, it will be complete chaos when international borders open. So we need a digital process.
Here's how it works. You download the Travel Pass app on your iPhone, then snap a selfie and scan your passport to verify your identity.
If you're vaccinated, you can upload a copy of your certificate. If your destination requires a COVID test,
time for the PCR test.
You can book in at a participating lab. The results will automatically upload in the app.
A green check mark means you're clear to travel.
Travel Pass is currently being trialed by more than a dozen airlines, with plans to expand. U.S.-based companies American and United have recently signed on, too. The airline industry is in crisis. Last year, demand was down 65%.
It's extremely important that we have a system that is internationally recognized, similar to your passport.
And equally key for all of us who just need a break.
Sarah Herman, NBC News, Doha, Qatar.
Well, airlines are not requiring this. It's individual countries that are doing it. The airlines are hesitant to create more travel barriers for obvious reasons. And we likely won't be seeing travel passports required if you're traveling within the U.S.
Yeah, I know that there's been a lot of pushback on it here in the United States. It is, according to the experts, likely to take foot in Europe. We talked about this yesterday. I mean, there's some good things about it. There are some bad things about it, obviously. I think what we're all pushing for is that return to normal. And the more people that get vaccinated, we keep talking about this, the quicker we're likely to get there. So that's where we are.
I completely agree with that, certainly. Well, speaking of trying to get back to normal, our restaurant industry has really been hit hard by the pandemic. They are definitely trying to get back to normal. We've been doing this little Save Our Sauce series, and tomorrow we are going to be celebrating all of our restaurants. Some of your favorite places to eat will be talking to us about the struggles they faced in last year and their hope for future of Cleveland's wonderful food scene. Watch Save Our Sauce, celebrating Northeast Ohio's restaurants. You see Austin Love there. He has put in so much time on this. This has been his pet passion project, and he will be presenting a half-hour show on it tomorrow at 7. Very excited. And oh yeah, by the way, speaking of Save Our Sauce, today's featured restaurant is Pupuseria La Bendición. Well, I'm not quite sure, but Pupuseria I love saying that. I think it's super fun. It's Salvadorian food and Colombian fare on Cleveland's west side, and they're doing takeout. It's really delicious stuff. You can check out this restaurant and more from our Doug Tratner at WKYC.com/SaveOurSauce.
Well, spring has almost sprung, and that means allergies are on the way for many of us. Coming up, a special edition of Throwdown Thursday as Betsy and I get quizzed by senior health correspondent herself, Monica Robbins. That should be fun.
Yeah, and there's also a lot of uncertainty that remains as we approach a post-pandemic world. I talked to a local doctor about what to expect moving forward and what we've been getting wrong in the last year. And Matt's also going to keep an eye on that forecast for us, which has been a little dreary today. But Matt, as I told Jay, he may think it's like a lion here in mid-March, but things are going to take a little turn for us.
Yeah, Betsy, we're going to have a gentle little lamb around here for the next week. That's the good news, but we've got to get this system out of here. It is massive. This is still a part of that West Coast snowstorm that they had last week. But we'll talk about this, how this exits, and what our weekend has in store when we come back.
I hear it, but you're probably hearing it now on my mic.
It's on. All right, it is now 5:40 and 33 seconds in the CLE. It's been a wet, dreary, nasty day. I was driving in, Matt. If you come out of the basement, you'll see what the rest of us are seeing. It is just wet and gray and nasty. The wind was howling, but I will tell you what, I drove past Edgewater Park and there were people surfing today.
Of course, of course, Betsy. Betsy, has the snow melted yet?
Yeah, actually it has, honey.
Okay.
We definitely need to get you some windows or something.
Yeah, we've got glass block windows, but it doesn't really do much for a meteorologist who's trying to look at the sky. But as long as that snow's gone, I'm pretty sure Northeast Ohio's sitting happy right now. But, even those folks out at Edgewater, Betsy asked me to put together a graphic. I said, I don't want to talk about the snow, Betsy. She's like, just put something together for Jay just to put him back into reality. So I did. The last time we were done with snow by a day like today, which is March 18th, was 1999, so it's not looking too good. It's been over 20 years. Our average date of last snow around here, that's measurable snowfall, April 10th. However, the forecast is looking great. We don't have any snow in the forecast, at least the next 10 days or so. There are some cold spells in the near future beyond that, but we won't talk about that. Look at the shadow of the lake. Lake water temperature is still sitting in the 30s. You get that wind elongated along the lake shore, and you can see we've got 30s close to the lake, 40s south, but we're all going to drop into the 30s tonight as this system continues to spiral its way off to the east. A little bit of wet snow mixing in, otherwise it's just a sloppy rain. Here comes that drying, though. We're going to dry out quickly, probably in the next half hour to hour in our lakeshore counties, and then eventually that dry air will erode this all the way down towards the south. It's going to be pretty magical with how quickly this will dry out. The system's still winding up. This is an upper level low that'll eventually sink down to the south. They still have severe weather yet again in the Carolinas as we get towards today. But the reason why it's windy, these two systems are squeezing together. The high pressure pushing in, the low pressure we have, it's helping to pull some of that cold air in, and that will be our air mass on Friday. We've also got some wind as well, as you've noticed, especially near the lakeshore and out towards the west through 4 a.m. We've got wind advisories. We still have gusts that have been upwards of 40 miles per hour at times. A little bit lighter as you get closer to that low, but everyone, it's going to be breezy tonight and breezy tomorrow as well. The winds will start to subside tonight, though, still gusting to 4 or 6 o'clock in the morning. By tomorrow, we'll eventually see things not only clear out, but the wind will subside as well. So here's your temperatures. We're going to dry out tonight, but look at the amount of time between the last rain and our freezing temperatures. That's going to be something to watch. We may have some slippery spots tomorrow morning in spots, something we'll have to keep an eye on as we go. But your National Desired hour-by-hour forecast, we've got wall-to-wall sunshine tomorrow, wall-to-wall sunshine as we get on into your Saturday and Sunday as well. Cool tomorrow, but we are going to warm things up for the weekend. That's the good news. And this pattern, as this warmth sets the stage across the eastern half of the country, this should hold next week, but we're going to have periods of storm systems moving through with quite a bit of rain as well as we get into next week. Union Home Mortgage 7-day forecast, first day of spring looking great. We're into the sunshine and 60s. Next chance of rain arrives on Wednesday into Thursday, but Jay and Betsy, after today, we're looking great. Outside of the cold tomorrow, we're going to be looking fantastic this weekend.
It really does, Matt. Come out of the basement, my friend. Come into the big world around us. It's time for a weather observation. I give you permission.
He's coming out right now. We should have a ceremony,
We totally should.
And do it live on TV when he sees that first ray of sunshine.
Absolutely. I don't know if you've seen where you are, Jay, but man, we have got buds on trees. We got little daffodils popping up, snowdrops, the whole thing's starting to really springing and whatever. But hey, spring officially is just a few days away, and that also means that allergies are really going to start to ramp up here as everything comes into bloom. So for today's Throwdown Thursday, our senior health correspondent, Monica Robbins, is going to quiz us on the best way to manage symptoms.
Yeah, Monica's going to ask a question. The first one to buzz in gets to answer the question. So Monica, without further ado, take it away.
I have two questions, though. Who has the lamp right now?
Betsy. Because last week we did weather questions.
My money's on Betsy.
As retribution from the NFL
and my
questions.
money's on her for this one, too.
I know. I mean, this is kind of weather related.
I also want to know, if Wentz comes out of the basement, is that like Punxsutawney Phil, though?
Yeah, if he sees his shadow, spring is over. Or spring is here.
All right, let me get to this.
Okay, let's do it.
All right, when should you start taking, here's question number one. When should you start taking your allergy medication? Oh, my goodness.
She's got to answer.
You don't have to stop. You could take it year-round if you want to. That's what our doctor said, so start taking it now.
Well, when should you start taking your allergy medicine? 2 weeks prior to when you see your symptoms.
That's a miss then. That's a -1.
That is totally a miss.
Wow, you were really quick on that
I
one,
was,
Ben.
because literally our doctor's like, you can take your allergy medicine.
Okay. All right.
And your doctor is not wrong, but that's not what it says on my sheet here.
Right,
So
well, we got to go by the sheet.
If you suffer from allergies, how often should you change your air filter? Every 3 months, every 2 months, or every 1 month?
I'm going to say that it's best to do that
Jay?
every 2 months. Yeah, every 2 months.
Betsy, guess?
I'm going to say every 1 month.
That was my other choice.
Winner, chicken dinner.
Is it every
Betsy
month?
got that one.
All right. Yeah, you're back to even.
It is. All right. So, when does grass pollen season start?
Oh, this is Jay's
Mid-April, mid-May, or early June?
It's
Jay?
well, mid-May. I'm going to say mid-May. Mid to late May would be my real guess, but yeah.
Yep, you got that one. All right. True or false?
Oh, I love these.
It is common to be allergic to flower pollen. True or Jay?
I have no idea, but this is a 50-50 proposition. I'm going to say false because I've never heard of. I mean, I'm sure it's out there, but I've never heard of a lot of people saying I'm allergic to flowers. So I'm going to say false.
Yeah, actually, flower pollen is heavy and doesn't get swept into the air as
Nicely
much like
done.
trees, grass, and weeds. But yeah, you got that one. So where are we now? Is it tied or?
Oh
Jay?
no, it's 2-0.
I'm up 1.
Because I went down and then back.
Yeah, that's right. It is 2-0. I can't lose. Go ahead and give the last question.
Here's a bonus. True or false? If you didn't have allergies as a kid, you will never get them.
That's definitely false because
false.
I didn't have them when I was a kid, but I have them now.
Your sensitivities change.
Yes, they do. Unfortunately.
Well done. Bets, you and I are going to have to chat about this. But yeah, Jay,
Monica,
congratulations. You get the leg lamp.
You bet against me on the leg lamp.
I am
a little disappointed in you.
Calling my doctor and talking about this 2-week notice
Yeah,
thing.
your doctor put you in a hole, a 1-0 hole.
No,
Aaron McKelvey, I'm coming after you.
Your doctor is not wrong. I take my allergy medication all year long.
Well, you got to go by the sheet.
But yeah, technically,
we go by the sheet here. We go by the sheet. Monica,
if you're going
thanks.
for this,
They're
2
telling
weeks.
us we got to go. Monica, thank you very much.
Still ahead for us on What's New. I'm reading the sheet.
It's all about the sheet.
It's the sheet. Okay. I talked to an expert on how far we've come since the beginning of the pandemic and what new practices we can expect to stick around for the foreseeable future. Well, we are 1 year into this pandemic now, and last year at this time, the full gravity of the coronavirus was hitting us here in the U.S. and in Ohio. And it was also a year ago, at about this time, that I first spoke to Dr. Tara Smith, a professor of epidemiology from Kent State's College of Public Health, about what we were facing. Well, now here we are a year later, and I thought it was time to catch up on what we know now that we didn't know then, and what we're looking at from here on out.
I mean, obviously, we've grown in leaps and bounds as far as our knowledge about coronaviruses in general and SARS coronavirus 2 specifically. I think when we started this, we had a lot of ideas that because it was causing serious infections, that it would behave more like SARS. That was our first big blunder, I think, was assuming that this virus could really spread only when people had symptoms, which of course now we know is not the case. If you were sick, we recommended masks, but not for everyone to avoid spread. So that's been, I think, our biggest find, this, asymptomatic and pre-symptomatic transmission and therefore the use of masks. I think we learned how polarizing pandemics can be. I've studied these, but having lived through one, it's just so different to read the history, to live through that in an age where facts are so readily available, but then have really become politicized and in some cases almost kind of weaponized. I think that was surprising and something we'll have to think about for the next time this happens. The vaccine development. I was a skeptic, a year ago this time when it was suggested that we could have a vaccine in 12 months and that these mRNA vaccines, would work because those were some of the first ones really out of the gate as far as development and testing. There had never been a approved vaccine using mRNA technology on a large scale. So, I was pretty skeptical. That went a lot faster than I thought and really shows what can be done as far as scientific advancements if you have money and you have political will behind it, and how fast some of those advancements can be made. And so those are some of the big, I think, breakthroughs that I've seen in the past year.
In the future, what's next for us? Is this the way things are going to end up being for coronavirus? Are we going to end up doing annual shots for this?
So I do think we'll need boosters. I don't expect it at this point to be yearly, but probably every 2 or 3 years, I would suspect that we will need additional coronavirus booster vaccines.
Are we going to have to do all this over again at some point? Is there going to be another coronavirus or another question mark virus, whatever it's going to be, that forces society as a whole to completely shut down?
Yes, I do think we'll see more of these. This is the third emergence of an epidemic coronavirus in the last 20 years. The other two we were just kind of lucked out on in that they did not spread as easily, and so we were able to keep them contained. This will happen again. I hope it will not be soon, but it might be 25 years, it might be 50, it might be 5, I don't know. But I think we just need to be prepared for that and do everything we can to prevent it and to respond quickly the next time it happens.
It was so fascinating to talk to her just about how things have their understanding of how these viruses mutate and how they come out from, zoological sources and whatnot. It was just fascinating.
Yeah. And, her last message there that this will happen again.
Yep.
I mean, coronaviruses do pop up, and I think the silver lining in all of this, Bets, is I think if one comes up again in the next 25, 50 years, we've learned a lot, and we, at least on that front, should be better prepared to deal with it.
And she's teaching real life pandemics.
Yeah. She's lived it now.
In a pandemic.
Yeah.
So the students that she is teaching are getting, frontline experience.
Fascinating. Next, getting a shot for getting a shot. The local brewery serving you beer if you can show proof of your COVID vaccine.
Check, 1, 2, 3, mic check. You know, Crane is always talking to me, and he's always trying to chat. Let me put this on. Sorry. You know, it's just incredible with him. It's like he doesn't see anyone all day.
Betsy, did you hear that during the segment? I never heard it. Hey, how are you, Mr. Reynolds?
I did.
I am good. Testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Great, thank you.
I saw a lady chase her umbrella. Well, show us something good is pretty good. We talked earlier about that vaccine passport, Betsy. Well, here, if you get vaccinated, you get a beer for 10 cents. Cleveland's Market Garden Brewery will hook you up with that cheap beer. Just bring in your vaccine card to show that you've got the vaccine. The first 2,021 people will get that deal. The Ohio City Staple says it's their way of thanking people for getting the vaccine. Pays to have that card.
Not bad. I bet there's going to be more businesses that start to open that up a little
I think
bit.
you're right.
It's a pretty slick idea.
We're out of time. Back tomorrow at 5. We hope to see you then.
What matters most with Russ and Laura starts right now.
Now at 6, more vaccine is on the way.
We expect that